But two other very much more important things happened that summer as well. Number one, I met the woman who would become my wife, my new wife, my real wife. And also, I met, or at least started having a conversation with the family of my donor. And I found out that my donor was a 14-year-old girl named Corinne Schroyer, and that she had died after being put on an antidepressant, and she killed herself after 10 days. And that she had saved not just me, but 4 other people. She had saved 5 people's lives through solid organ transplant, and donation and transplant. And that fall, I met my donor's family for the first time. And it was the most god-awful, wonderful, laughing, crying, everything, every emotion you can possibly think of, 2-hour-long session. And the first thing they gave me was a baby, was not a baby book, they gave me a photo album of Corinne, and it started off with a baby picture, and it went through her life, and showed her going from a baby to a toddler to a little child, and watching her open presents at Christmas and dress up for Halloween. And then you see her going through her adolescence and becoming a young woman, and then the pictures stop. And when we left, again, we're out in the parking lot, and I was at my car, and they were at their car on the other side of the parking lot. And her mother, Christy, came back across the parking lot and said, "Len, can I ask you just one favor?" I said, "Sure, absolutely, anything you want." And she said, "Can I put my hands on your chest, and will you breathe for me?" And we stood in the parking lot with Corinne's hands on my chest, with me breathing and her listening to her daughter's lungs. That'll affect anybody. Well, one of the wonderful things that happened during this meeting as well, though, was that we found out that while I was doing triathlons, Corinne's father, Kevin, was doing 10-mile races in Virginia. And somebody came up with the most wonderful idea. Why don't y'all run together? And so 5 weeks later, we got together in Richmond, Virginia, which is the home of, yeah, there's Kevin. It was the home of Donate Life. And they were doing a race there. It was an 8K road race, it was 5 miles. Where all the proceeds were going to be going to Donate Life, to the organization, to help raise awareness of lung disease and well, not lung disease, but to organ donation. And we did this race, so we got a lot of press coverage talking about lung disease and organ donation, and we realized that we had this, not only this ability, but to raise awareness and to get media attention, but with this ability came a responsibility that we couldn't stop. We had to keep doing this. And so 6 months later, we went to Nashville, Tennessee, and did the country music half marathon, which is 13.1 miles, which is about twice as far as either of us had ever gone before. And got more press. And 6 months later, we went back to Richmond. And instead of doing the 8K, we decided to do the SunTrust Marathon, 26.2 miles. And it took a long time, but we crossed the finish line, and we crossed it together with our hands up in the air. And when we crossed the finish line, one of the people from Donate Life ran up and said, "Congratulations, CNN just called. They want to interview y'all tomorrow morning, live." And so they limoed us from Richmond up to the Washington, D.C. Bureau, and we got a chance to talk about what we were doing and why we were doing it, and I got a chance to talk about Alpha One. I was the first person that anybody knows of to talk about Alpha One on national television. And that CNN interview led to the Today Show, which led to a 2-page spread in Runner's World magazine, and then later the folks at Discovery Health Channel we're launching a new program called Mystery Diagnosis, and they couldn't think of a much better mystery diagnosis than Alpha-1, so they had me on their first show. And later on, a gentleman by the name of Rick Riley, who, if anybody reads Sports Illustrated, might recognize that name. He's one of the premier sports writers in the nation right now. And he does a little piece that's a full page, it's the last page in Sports Illustrated, called The Life of Riley. And he heard out about our story, and he did a beautiful one-piece article, phrased, it was 700 words, and it's beautiful. And I've got a bunch of copies of it in the back of the room. I've only got about maybe 50 copies back there, but please feel free to grab one. But that Sports Illustrated article, when it came out that very same day, I got a telephone call from HBO and a telephone call from ABC World News, and we ended up doing specials on HBO Real Sports with Brian Gumbel and on ABC World News tonight with Charles Gibson. And then most recently, we've done a show for PBS. We filmed I was in as a patient for Healthy Body, Healthy Mind, a 30-minute piece on PBS on Alpha-1. And it's the best single documentary I've ever seen on Alpha-1. It's a really, really wonderful show. And I'd urge you to take a look at your TV guide and see if you happen to get Healthy Body, Healthy Mind. Look for that show and watch it. It's really, really very well done. But some other important things happened other than just this ability to raise some awareness. We did finally get married, and you'll see that at our wedding, there's Kevin and Christy and Colby. That was Corinne's younger sister. Although Kevin doesn't look real thrilled. I think it was his very first airplane ride. And of course, what comes after a short while, not too short of a while, but just the right amount of time, a baby. And she's a little girl. And she's the light of my life. My name is Lynn Geiger. I live in Jacksonville, Florida, with my wife, Christina, my daughter, Ava Corinne, named for Corinne, the girl whose lungs I now breathe with. I'm back in medicine again, but I'm not in sales. I'm in Alpha-1 advocacy. I spend my time raising awareness of Alpha-1 and lung disease, increasing detection of Alpha-1, and urging aggressive treatment. Until we find a cure for Alpha-1, that's the best thing we've got. I've been through a whole lot in my life, but please don't think that I'm just sitting back breathing easy now. I've got a long ways to go. I've got a lot to accomplish. The air that I'm breathing, it is sweet air. Thank you.